Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Flash episode 19 video. We totally got to look at Savitar, so we got to talk all about this. You have to ask yourself at the end of the episode, who is the one person that Caitlyn would trust immediately, no matter how evil he'd seemed and what he'd put them all through? She just instantly says, without wasting a beat, "What do you need me to do? I am totally happy to do whatever evil thing you want me to do to Team Flash and my former friends." There are only a couple people in the multiverse that she'd be willing to do that for. Never before has my Twitter feed been so unanimous in the person that they think that Savitar is. So we'll talk about that, but there's a new round of the Flash Ring giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this video. So working through top 10 WTF and comic book Easter eggs. There were a couple comic book Easter eggs. I know a lot of people were wondering about the Flash Ring because of all the future Flash stuff, and there's a lot of mounting evidence that Barry or a version of Barry could be Savitar. So there were a couple things that pointed to that in this episode. And so working through top 10, number 10, Barry makes the calculations. He's going to 2024, the exact day on the future newspaper where it says Flash vanishes in crisis. So the weird thing is that when he gets to this day in the future, there is no crisis. It's been like this Escape from New York. If you guys are big John Carpenter fans, it's like the Escape from New York version of Central City. The rogues have taken over, and because Captain Cold and Heatwave have been on Legends of Tomorrow this year, it's Mirror Master and Top that have risen to the top of the pile. So they've been ruling over Central City in Barry's absence because he's been sidelined, as we learn later, in his grief. But number 9, I love the way they open the episode with it snowing outside and snowing inside Star Labs. They start outside Barry and Iris's window and it's snowing. I'll explain why it's snowing in a second. There's actually a funny reason for that, because when they filmed this episode in Vancouver, there was actually a really bad snowstorm. The same thing happened when they filmed the last episode too. They've been having really bad storms, so they just had to work it into the episode. But it totally worked because inside Star Labs, winter has come and Caitlyn is going full-blown Killer Frost on the rest of the team. So the whole thing here is that she knows exactly what's happening. She is conscious of what she's doing, but she says, I don't want to do the right thing. I want to let the bad version of myself out. I don't want to be Caitlyn anymore. So there's a couple gaps in the logic, like they haven't really explained what it is about the Killer Frost part of herself that's so freeing to Caitlyn. Like, what is it that she's suppressing about herself when she's Caitlyn? Usually the Killer Frost part of her is just the expression of all the things that she keeps locked up inside of her, like all the anger, all the hate, all the negative emotions, because the last 2 seasons, Caitlyn's been a pretty happy character, with the exception of season 1 Caitlyn, because Ronnie had died. So we will talk all about the dead version of Ronnie in a second, because he's actually very important to this episode. But number 7, Barry travels to the future with the help of Wally, doing the exact same trick that he did during season 2 when he sent the Reverse Flash back to his future time. You really just need 2 speedsters to run fast enough to create enough force to open the portal to the future. Barry should logically be able to do it by himself, but I think the reason they did it this way on the TV show is just to make it a little bit harder. Otherwise, why wouldn't you just go to the future all the time? They don't want to make it an easy thing that you could just do at the drop of a hat. So Barry gets to escape from New York Central City and immediately gets his ass handed to him by future Mirror Master and future Top, who have had 8 years to rule the city and grow more powerful. So they're literally more powerful because they've had all those years to hone their powers, but they're figuratively more powerful in the city because the Flash has been dormant and they've just run rampant. So the rogues rule and Barry goes on his mission to try and find out what's going on and where all his friends are. So number 6, he runs into Cisco and starts to learn what's happened to everyone in the past 8 years. Why is everybody broken up? Why isn't the team together? Why does everything look like it's gone to shit? And Cisco explains to him that Barry just completely broke inside, and then we get the rest of the explanation from Future Flash. So he explains that what happened is that after Iris died, he completely committed himself to stopping Savitar, and he was successful, but he did it at the expense of his friends and family, so they became the collateral damage. So at the end of the day, Savitar still won, so that's why he's still broken inside and depressed, because he was able to stop Savitar, but everybody's so stuck in their grief and all the terrible things that have happened to them that it's driven them apart and they can't handle it. So number 5, our version of Barry's mission becomes more about bringing Team Flash back together in the future and being this beacon of hope in their time of darkness. and that's a lot of foreshadowing about the stuff that's going to come for him in the past. Like, he still has a long way to go before he defeats Savitar, and his secret weapon isn't the Speed Force, the fact that he's a speedster, it's his ability to generate hope and to make people around him feel better, to bring people together. So the episode is kind of a reminder for Barry in the past that that's what he needs to focus on more than anything, and reminding future Barry that he also needs to do that too. So they leave it in a really good place. But all those final scenes that they had together, one for all for one, we're on our way to becoming a family again, was just a way of telling you that Barry wasn't there to find out about Savitar. It was to find out more about himself and reconnect with his family. So we got to talk about all the WTFs though. Number 4, the things that happened to all the Team Flash members. So right off the bat, the worst thing that probably happened was Wally getting his spine broken Hunter Zolomon style. So I know everybody was like, maybe Wally's Savitar. I think we probably learned definitively that he is not, but he's still in such a state of shock by what he saw the night that he fought Savitar and lost, that he hasn't said anything about it since then. So whatever he saw underneath Savitar's mask shocked him to his very core, but there's also the emotional trauma of getting your spine broken. That's also probably made him catatonic too. So of all the Team Flash members, Wally is probably the worst off. Caitlin is stuck in prison, and she explains all the things that Savitar told to her. He helped me embrace my true self, and what she's saying is embrace her killer Frost self. And he sort of clarifies that at the end of the episode when he says, I want to help you make sure that Caitlin never comes back. Number 3, just because it's such a big deal, I had to give it its own WTF. Cisco losing both of his hands in the scene that they show where he loses them is a continuation of the scene that he vibed in the future back during episode 6 when Caitlin was first starting to become Killer Frost. This scene right here.
And I didn't see anything. You're fine. Oh, thank you.
So that is totally messed up, and you totally forgive Cisco for trapping Barry in the future, even though you kind of figure it out pretty fast. Like, Cisco probably did something to keep him from going to the past. But all is forgiven, and Danielle Panabaker has teased that because we have an episode coming up where Vibe fights Killer Frost, is that we'll see a different version of that play out. So the idea is that our version of Cisco isn't that tragic. He's not going to lose his hands at the end of the year, so something is going to be different about that fight that they have. She also teased that her Killer Frost costume is going to be a slightly different version of the one that we see in this scene from the future. So little things are changing, even though like the really big things like Iris dying are still on the board. They haven't fixed that yet. But number 2, we learn about Tracy Brand, the scientist in the past who's going to help Barry, but future Barry gives him the hard drive that hopefully will speed it along. Like, here's all of her research that took her 4 years to finish. Maybe she can use this to make her device much faster before Iris dies. So we just watched Flash episode 19. Episode 23, the finale, is the same day that future Barry said that Iris dies. So that's just a way of saying that this moment here is going to be happening in the final episode of season 3. And I know there's a whole bunch of talk about what's going on with the finale. We can talk about that in bonus videos because there's still so much between now and then. But before I talk about my number 1, how about that future Barry costume? I know some of you weren't too hot on it because of the gold highlights and the giant gold belt, but it's a brighter color of red, something that everybody has been asking for a long time. Grant Gustin teased, hey, isn't it time for Barry to get a new suit? That was the suit that he was talking about. And Cisco even says the 2017 version of the white emblem, meaning that they'll probably change the emblem again in the future, so we'll see a slightly different version of his costume, at least by season 4. But we gotta talk about number 1, Savitar coming out of the costume and revealing himself to Caitlin. So the thing about this is that he doesn't speak when he steps out. You kind of see the way that it opens. It's like this big tech suit. He has these cool black leather pants. It's just meant to show you that he's a normal person underneath the costume. But the thing that's most telling is the look on Caitlin's face, because she's been so evil for this entire episode, is that when she witnesses who he is, she just completely jumps on board in an instant. And there are only a few people that she cares about that deeply that would make her respond in that way. And even though there are a number of possibilities for who Savitar could be, unanimously, like all over my Twitter feed, spammed with the name Ronnie Raymond. So let's just speculate about how it could potentially be Ronnie. One, he would have to have Speed Force abilities given to him by the Philosopher's Stone, and he said that he was the first person to get speed, so there's a lot of explaining to do there. Like, how could Ronnie be the person that got speed if he was born in present day and he died back during season 1? There'd have to be some crazy explanation for that, because this season has been all about Barry letting other people sacrifice themselves for him and him being super selfish. So the message this season is that Barry needs to take ownership of his mistakes and be true to his family. That's why everybody's thinking that at the end of the season, he might go into the Speed Force to pay for his Speed Force crimes. So that's just one potential for who Savitar could be. So even though Ronnie is a solid pick, that is why I am still stuck on Barry as Savitar. Just because, of all the people that Caitlin would trust, it's Barry and Ronnie, and it would just make more sense for the narrative right now based on the evidence that we have that the mystery person that they keep teasing out, like, who is Savitar? Who is Savitar? You need to know who he is. Well, who do you need to know better than yourself? Know thyself. So let me know in the comments, who do you think Savitar is? Who stepped out of that costume at the end? So what's going to happen is I'll post a new Flash trailer video tomorrow. We'll talk all about this Savitar stuff. This is going to take us a couple videos to work through, but congratulations to the latest giveaway winner, Roy Harper. Please private message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact details. You can click here to learn all about the live-action Teen Titans TV show that's written by Jeff Johns coming next year, and you can click here for brand new Avengers Infinity War. Thank you so much for watching. Let's high five. I'll see you guys in the next video.